Do you find yourself on a healing journey? Are you on the lower end of the spectrum on that healing journey, meaning you're in the struggling part of it? I'm going to share with you advice I'd give to myself when I was going through a depression that was almost life ending back in 2013. Now, the first thing I would say to myself and to anyone out there that's going through a very hard time, going through some kind of awakening or healing journey, is you have to learn to be easier on yourself. The worst thing we do, and the one thing we love to do as humans when we're in some state of depression, is beat ourselves up for feeling that way, which only makes things a million times worse. If you find yourself going through hard times, instead of beating yourself up for not being where you want to be, can you sit down for a second, be a little bit more compassionate towards yourself? See, we all have different aspects of ourselves, right? We have a happy side, we have a sad side, we have an angry side, we have a mundane, boring side, we have an excited side, we have a frustrated side. There's all these different aspects to us, right? And if you find yourself in a depressed state, going through some kind of crazy healing journey, there's an aspect of you that's upset, that's depressed, that's sad, that's maybe angry, that's maybe fearful. So instead of beating yourself up for feeling that way, learn to be more compassionate to those aspects of yourself. And once you do that, once you embrace those feelings and be like, okay, I have a reason to be X, Y, or Z, then it just becomes easier to be happier rather than being like, okay, I'm pissed off right now and I command myself to be happy. That just, and in energy language, that just, you can't go from here to here in a heartbeat, right? So what you do is you say, I'm pissed off, I'm X, Y, and Z, and I have all these reasons to be. And I'm gonna be loving on little angry Johnny, or whatever your name is, whatever that aspect of you is, right? Be more compassionate and loving. Be like, you know what? I do have a reason to feel this way. Okay, that makes sense. And once you ease up on yourself and stop beating yourself up, then you can learn to be happier. It'll just happen more naturally, and you won't have that big discord. The number one advice I would give to myself going back in time is to stop beating yourself up for feeling that way. You have to understand what depression is. If you're going through turmoil, it's because your soul is telling you, hey, look, we gave you the captain's hat, and you drove us to shit creek, and we're tired of being up shit creek without a paddle. So now we're going to sound the alarm, and we're going to say, hey, look, we need change because we're not happy inside. So a depression's like a warning signal. Change is needed. So you're depressed, you're miserable, you're not happy. Now you identify what is causing you to feel that way. And then once you identify that, you have to start taking baby steps to make changes. For a lot of people, that's being stuck in a 9-to-5 job that's killing their soul and barely paying the mortgage. So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue down that path and just continue being depressed without doing anything? Or are you going to start taking steps to get out of that situation and better your finances? Same thing with relationship. Same thing with your relationship with yourself, or if you're in a toxic relationship with someone else. If you know you fucking married a narcissistic Jezebel, what are you doing? Well, you don't want to leave because you're comfortable, but you're going to sit there and bitch about it. Well, then get used to being depressed, right? Anything, there is exceptions. Sometimes we're upset or miserable because we lost a loved one. It's kind of its own category, and it's a little different, but you just have to change your perspective there. When I lost my mom in 2013, 13 months later, I was like, well, I don't even want to be here if she's not here, right? All I could focus on was I lost my mom in the physical, right? Now where I'm at today, I'm like, you know what? I have a friend in the spirit realm that's watching out for me, right? Feeding my dogs up in heaven, giving them belly rubs. And I know that I'm going to see her and that this life's temporary and people come and go. And you just have to learn to see the positives in shitty situations. I've become a master at that. I had a woman that I trusted put arsenic in my drink 1 week after I introduced my son to her. I could focus on how demonic and psychotic and sociopathic that is, and get pissed off that, for the last few years she's been spreading lies and slandering my name. Or I could just be like, well, I downed a lethal dose of arsenic and shook it off. That's kind of cool, right? Like, you have to find the positives in any situation. And the fastest way to heal is stop beating yourself up, learn to forgive. You have all these people from your past that did you wrong, let's say. Well, what if on a soul level, and this isn't always the case, but majority of the time, you interacted with certain individuals that put you through a hard time because you had certain lessons you needed to learn. And people that we see as negative that have harmed us, if you change your perspective to these people were teachers that helped me identify what I want, what I don't want, what I am, what I'm not. They helped you create boundaries and become stronger. Whenever I hear of a woman who left an abusive relationship, it's like, well, what did you gain from that? You gained strength, you gained courage, you created boundaries, you learned what you are willing to accept and what you aren't willing to accept. You have to find the positive in any negative situation. Some are easier than others, I know, but if you're going through a hard time, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up for it and not continue to do anything about it. Otherwise, nothing's going to change, and that's what long-term depression is. You have to make those changes. It starts with you. You have to be willing to change your life. If you're using crutches that don't serve you, you have to get rid of them. If you're hanging out with people that don't serve you, you have to get rid of them regardless of their title. You have to make the changes that are right for you, because if you're not well inside, then what does anything outside of you really mean? Absolutely nothing.